So hi everyone, so I'm Kia, one of the employability coordinators from the School of Management, and thanks for joining us today. I just wanted to introduce the session before we start. So we've got James and Adam from Kefron today, who are kindly putting on a session for us, giving us a little bit more of an insight into the company and the role they're currently recruiting for. So feel free to pop any questions in the chat, or like I said, if you're feeling brave, feel free to kind of unmute yourselves at the end and ask any questions and pop your cameras on. As I said, we've got a nice small group today. So yeah, feel free to kind of ask. But yeah, I'll pass on to James and Adam, if that's okay with you both.
Yeah, absolutely. Afternoon, everyone. Nice to virtually meet you all. As Kia said, my name is James. So I think we'll keep today's session short and sharp. I'm conscious you guys are in exam/assignment mode. So I'm trying to share my screen here, but it's telling me it's disabled, which may be an issue, but I can freestyle.
I've just given you access, so I think that should be okay.
Let me try again. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, good.
All right, cool. All right, let me know when you can see that.
Yeah, we can see it.
Beautiful. All right, cool. Listen, guys, again, really nice to virtually meet you all. I am the commercial manager at Kefron, so my name's James. I'll be leading the majority of today's session. Adam is also on the line. So Adam is a Swansea University alumni, I guess. Or I think you're an alumni when you leave, Adam. Is that right?
Yeah, not quite yet. A few more months and then I will be.
Good stuff. So Adam, guys, has joined Kefron in June last year. On a placement.
Year before,
2019.
Yeah.
God, that's a long time ago. Okay. So 2019 as a I guess a placement student, which we were really happy with. Adam spent 12 months in the inside sales role, which is effectively what we're recruiting for now. And we're going to talk to you a little bit about what's that role all about. We're going to talk to you a little bit about, I guess, a career in cloud technology sales and potentially what that would look like. I know when I was finishing university, trying to plan out the next 5 years of your life can be quite daunting and scary. So I'm going to try and give you as best as I can an overview of potentially what a career path would look like, what it would look like if you joined Kefron, what would you be doing day to day. And we're happy to answer any questions that you guys might have. Adam's just finishing up his final year in accountancy and finance at Swansea, and he's due to join back with the business after spending the last number of months part-time with us into a full-time role. Adam's recently been promoted, so he will be managing a team when he comes back, so we're desperate to get him back to manage the team that's growing. So I guess, look, that's just testament to the fact that Adam's fit in really well. He put his best foot forward over the time we had together, and yeah, look, he's been rewarded. So look, our philosophy is always, if you're good enough, you're old enough, and if you put the work in terms of the day-to-day stuff and you give it your best effort, usually you're going to be rewarded in this type of career. So it's not the case like in lots of organizations you have to be there for 5, 6, 7, 8 years before you get a promotion, right? We probably not the way we do things at Kefron. So as I said, I'm the commercial manager. So look, basically what I do every day is speak to organizations about some of the challenges that they have in their finance department. And usually what we're trying to do is understand, can we address some of the challenges that they have in their finance department with the Kefron accounts payable solution that we sell. Adam's in the head of inside sales role now. So Adam, do you want to give the guys a bit of an overview of what your new job is going to entail?
Yeah, so I'll basically be managing and contributing as well to the inside sales team. So we'll go into a bit later on sort of the typical day in inside sales, but generating leads and scheduling meetings and things like that. And I'll be working alongside everyone in that team, as well as sort of overseeing it and managing it. So if one of you was to join the team, I'll be working alongside you.
Good stuff. All right. So I guess, guys, you don't know a whole lot about Kefron, so I'm going to start there. We're pretty well established at this stage. So we're 30 years in business, headquartered in Dublin, where I'm from, hence the accent. We started in traditional document storage. So if you guys picture a warehouse filled with millions of boxes, not the sexiest industry or the most exciting, but it's still a core part of our business today. So banks, insurance agencies, hospitals, property management businesses, they'll all store sensitive documentation in our warehouse, in our vaults, and anytime they need that documentation, they call us up and say, hey, can you deliver out a box to XYZ Bank? We need the deeds for someone's house to review them. And that's the business that Kefron's always been in. That business in the 90s transitioned into a scanning business. So all of our customers were coming to us in the 90s to say, we've got paper everywhere, we store loads of boxes with you. Can you scan that paper and store it on a Dropbox site or a Google Drive site or our own internal cloud document management system? So we would scan documents, put them on their servers, so it was really easy for them to access when they were in the office, as opposed to working with physical paper. And then in 2015, we created Kefron AP. So Kefron AP is the name of the platform that myself and Adam sell. And I guess going into that in a little bit of detail, I don't want to bore you too much with it, although I find it very, very exciting. Kefron AP is the name of the cloud product we sell. So we go to organizations of all different shapes and sizes to talk to them about their finance function. But in particular, it's their accounts payable function. So every business in the world, as you guys know, has to pay their suppliers on a weekly or monthly basis. And most of the time when you receive an invoice as a business, you could receive 100 invoices in a day. And most times you've got an accounts payable function. So a team of people that open the invoice, look at it, and manually type the information into the finance system to get that supplier paid, right? So if you're an online retailer, you've got a team of people, you buy, I don't know, material for the dresses or the furniture that you sell, you receive those invoices, you manually type that information into the finance system to get that supplier paid. What Kefron AP does is replaces the manual data entry. So when that invoice comes in, our software picks it up, it extracts the information off the page, and then it posts that information into the finance system. So instead of having teams of people manually processing that document, you've just got the software doing it instead. And usually, if you're in a really hyper growth, fast business, most of the time you don't want people manually typing information into a finance system, right? You want them doing more exciting stuff, things that are going to generate their interest, things that are going to keep them motivated and passionate in their job. So instead of having a person do that, like an accountant, for example, you use the Kefron AP solution. So maybe that accountant can focus on reporting to the board or dealing directly with the suppliers, negotiating discounts, that type of thing. So more higher value work, right? So that's effectively what the solution does in a nutshell. Again, I'm not going to get into all of the detail, but hopefully that gives you a good picture as to effectively what we do. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is reduce the amount of manual effort for every business in the world to reduce processing those invoices and the amount of time it takes to get their suppliers paid on time. All right. In terms of our customers, I think all of our customers are really cool, albeit probably what they do in a lot of instances aren't. So we do a lot of work with councils. So you can see Leeds City Council in the left-hand side. You can see Brent Council in London. We work with retailers. So you can see Regatta in the middle of the screen. So the clothing retailer. So they'll come to us and basically say, we process 2,000 invoices a month. And when Regatta came to us, every invoice they received, they printed it off because they found it easier to manually type it into their finance system. And they came to us and said, geez, we're printing 2,000 documents every month. Number one, it's terrible for the environment. Number two, because of the pandemic, no one's in the office anymore and they don't have printers at their house. So is there any way we can digitize that paper? You guys extract the information of it and then post it into the finance system, right? You've probably heard of Beauty Pie, potentially for any of the girls or guys on the call, for that matter. So the subscription service for your makeup, again, they'll send you a box every month. They receive invoices every month. They use the Kefron AP platform. We extract the information off the page and we post it into their finance system. So they don't need teams of people doing that. Now they've only got one or two people in their finance function that deal with that process on a daily basis. Ella's Kitchen, then probably you see them in some of the supermarkets. All of you are probably too young to have kids, or the majority of you. But again, I guess the food for kids, right? That's effectively what Ella's Kitchen do. You'll see a lot of them in the supermarkets. And then Gosney on the right hand side, at the top right, these are a really cool business, really hyper growth, fast growing business, and they sell pizza ovens online. So homemade pizza ovens that you can effectively I guess, create your own pizza and make it in your back garden, right? So again, really, really fast growth. Their sales went through the roof during the pandemic because everyone was at home. They wanted a new hobby that they wanted to try out. And instead of, putting it in your general oven, Gosney saw a potential in the market for customers to use their ovens in their back gardens. All right, so there's a bit of an overview of some of the customers that are actively using the Kefron AP solution. They don't want teams of people processing invoices, and instead they're using the Kefron AP solution to do it for them. All right. In terms of us as a team then, so when Adam joined the business, Adam, there was 4 of us, I think, in 2019. Is that right?
Yeah, I think only 4 of us in the City of London office, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess the wider Kefron business has 150 people in it. The London office is brand new. So I launched the UK business in 2019 with a team of 4. So myself, Adam, as you can see on screen, Josh, who's still with us, and then James Smith, who's our head of sales, who's responsible for the whole function. That team's grown from 4 people to 15 in the last 2 years. So we've got 15 people in the London office. We've got obviously the HQ and the Irish sales team in the Irish office. We're based in central London, as Adam mentioned. So we're in Liverpool Street, close to the Shard, close to the walkie-talkie building, 10-minute walk from London Bridge. We're back in the office a couple of days a week. So usually it's Tuesdays and Thursdays. This is a really bad picture of our office, but it gives you a bit of an idea. Hopefully you won't be playing too much ping pong, but obviously during your breaks or after work, you're welcome to do that. It's a shared office space. So effectively, you've got loads of different businesses sharing the same building and sharing the same facilities, which just means that it gives you, I guess, an opportunity, even though Kefron's a relatively small team in the building, to interact with different organizations, people doing different things. So you've got everything from startup founders to people that are, website designers to freelancers, all within the building, effectively doing the same thing day in, day out. So that's us as a team. As I said, the team's grown pretty substantially. We want to hire someone new into the team, into Adam's team, relatively quickly. So the placement opportunity is definitely something that we'd like to fill relatively quickly. And then also, if you're thinking about potentially when you finish up, if you're in your final year and you wanted to consider a career in cloud technology, software sales, if you're looking for a full-time role, definitely something we'd be open to as well. All right. This one I wanted to throw in because I think it's really, really important, particularly at the stage you guys are at in your, I guess, careers, right? So in terms of my own background, I graduated from a business degree in University College Dublin, so one of the top universities in Dublin. And then I was at a bit of a crossroads. I wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to do. I decided to do a master's. So I did a master's in management consultancy in one of the top business schools in Dublin, and graduated from that. And I had a couple of options to I guess, pursue in my career. I was thinking about going into one of the big 4 consultancy firms, which was something that a number of my family members did. But I always had a kind of a passion for sales and trying to pursue that as a career. But one of the things that always kind of held me back was the common perceptions of sales, right? So I think traditionally over the last number of years, salespeople have always got a little bit of a bad rap. So I think of movies like Wolf of Wall Street and Del Boy and the used car salesman analogy. And I think it's really, really important to note that now more than ever, people are joining the sales, I guess, career as a function, because it can take you in so many different avenues, right? And I think in my experience, the best salespeople are actually the best problem solvers. Every time you speak to a new organization, they have a different problem, they have a different challenge they're trying to solve. And it's all about listening in terms of what they have to try and address and how your solution can help them, right? So Adam, I don't know, is that something that you felt when you were in university and you were thinking about a career in sales? Did you have some of those common perceptions like I did, or?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was similar to you in that as I said, I do accounting and finance. I was doing placement applications for the Big 4 as well. And at some point I just realized potentially that wasn't for me. And I thought sales is something that perhaps I could be good at given some of my strengths, but Yeah, there was something slightly putting me off in terms of the perception of sales. It does get quite a bad rep. You'd probably think of getting cold called by salesmen. They get a bit of a dodgy reputation, but realistically, when it comes to it going into the role, it wasn't anything like that. Your business to business sales, you're having meaningful conversations with CFOs, finance directors on a daily basis when they're actually interested in what you have to sell, as opposed to just getting a random call from someone, which is probably what you typically think of when you think of sales.
Yeah, good point. So look, I think from my point of view, if that's something that's holding you back, you can look at lots of different people that have made really, really successful long-term careers in sales, particularly in the software space. So if you look at any of the businesses that are being sold, you know, as on different exchanges, like, you know, doing an IPO or on the FTSE or anything like that, they're usually all hyper growth software businesses. So they're solving a specific issue for a massive amount of organizations across the world, usually, right? So, you know, I think if you have that concern or you're thinking about that, just keep in mind that it's a very, very professional environment to go into. And as Adam said, you know, you're dealing with very, very senior people in organizations who are typically very open to what you have to say. All right. Adam, do you want to talk about, I guess, the inside sales role? So just so everyone's clear, the inside sales team is probably one of the most important functions in the Kefron business. And the reason I say that is because the majority of the new business that we win, so clients that I showed you earlier on, that opportunity and conversation usually has started or generated within the inside sales function. So they've uncovered an opportunity. They've brought it to a senior salesperson in the team. That senior salesperson has had a conversation with that client. They've gone through a full pre-sales process, and then that client's eventually become the Kefron AP user, right? So it's really, really important to note that this function in the business is very, very, very important to our growth, and is a key reason to our growth. So Adam, do you want to just talk about, you know, what's kind of the day in the life of someone in that inside sales team and your team will be doing on a daily basis?
Yeah, sure. So I guess, as James said, the main part of the role is lead generation. So it's going out and finding those leads that are potentially interested in our solution. So day to day, you'll be calling, emailing, and speaking with potential clients, and these potential clients could be a massive multinational business. You could be speaking to global CFOs and things like that, or it could be a hyper growth startup that are growing rapidly and don't want to hire more people, so they want to use technology instead. So you speak to all sorts of different businesses using different systems and processes. If you're interested in marketing, you work very closely with marketing on different campaigns each week, each month. So you'll be coming up with ideas for certain campaigns we can do, messaging and content and things like that. And then, as we said, the core part of the role is scheduling the meetings with these potential clients for people like James. But you're also going to be responsible for presenting in these meetings, perhaps demonstrating our software as well. So it's not just, you're not just booking the meeting and leaving it there. You will be part of these meetings, and you'll be there with all of these global CFOs, things like that, these companies. Also managing and updating the CRM system. So again, working with marketing on the CRM system, running reports and activity, and keeping all of the contact information up to date from the leads you're generating. But then one of the key things I think as well is you develop a massive knowledge of the finance function in businesses. So you use what you've learned at uni, and you can apply that into the role. So and you see it in action, really learning about how different companies operate and how these finance functions work. And also the solutions we sell, automation solutions, you develop a really good knowledge of AI technology and things like that, and how platforms like that work.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, I think that's a really, really good overview of typically what you'd be doing in that inside sales function. It's really important to note that you're not kind of you're not thrown into that role, obviously, and you're left to your own devices to try and generate leads. It's in our interest to generate and, I guess, nurture your ability as you get into that role. So you get a lot of training on the day-to-day stuff. So if you're concerned about, I don't think I'd be able to, pick up the phone and call a CFO or anything like that, that's how everyone feels coming into this type of role. And it's all about just your training, but it's more so about your appetite to get stuck in, as opposed to being worried about being told no. Right, because you're going to get told no a lot in this type of role. And also what I would say is it's definitely one of the first jobs for most people when they leave college if they're joining a software business, right? So the team that you'd be joining are all usually recent graduates, so they're all kind of similar age profile, similar experience. So you're not going to feel out of your depth if you don't have loads of professional experience after joining or leaving uni. All right. Again, as I said at the very start of the call, it was really difficult for me to try and plan out the next kind of 5 years of my life and figure out what kind of a career path could look like. So I thought it would be useful for you guys who are joining the session just to get an indication of well, if I did go ahead with this type of role, like what does that mean in 5-10 years time? Am I still in this type of role? So look, usually there's kind of a number of different avenues you can go specifically in the sales function. So you'd probably start in the inside sales team. So again, responsible for generating opportunities, booking demos, working really closely with marketing, and you're the first point of contact for potential customers. Those types of people are usually trying to graduate into a field sales or a business development manager role, which is over here. But usually you're spending at least 12 to 18 months in this role. Okay, and you can see the kind of salary structure here. What I would say is, if you're on a placement with us, obviously we need to be a little bit prescriptive about specifically what you would get paid during your placement. So if you're working full-time with us, if you're working part-time like Adam has been for the last year, that kind of dictates your salary range. But that just gives you an indication of if you're working full-time with Kefron and you're in it for essentially the long haul, this is kind of what you'd be looking at in your first couple of years. And again, inside sales manager, so role that Adam has taken on, you can imagine, managing a growing team of people, again, working closely with marketing, and then taking on basically the responsibility for that wider team. So that team that Adam is going to come in to manage is going to be a team of 4, and it's probably going to grow substantially over the next 3 years. So there's loads of opportunities to move up and down the ladder depending on what you want to do. So Adam made the decision, he wanted to take on specifically a management role in that inside sales team, as opposed to jumping straight out of inside sales and going into a business development manager role. This type of role will be client facing more so. So, an opportunity or a demonstration is being booked by the inside sales team. It then goes to a senior person in the business, like a business development manager. So someone like me, I would deliver a demonstration to the client. I talk to them about some of the challenges that they have, what they're trying to address. Obviously, I'm targeted, so I'm trying to win new business. I'm trying to manage a pipeline of opportunities. And then what you're potentially looking at as you get a little bit older and a little bit more experience is kind of the sales leader role. James Smith, I guess, in the business, this is his kind of category, and you'd be managing the full sales function. So the inside sales team, as well as the business development or the senior field sales team, will be your responsibility in the business. So if you're thinking about potential career paths, career options, just at a headline, this is what it would look like. Not only in Kefron, it's a similar type path for most, software businesses. All right. So if anyone has any questions on that, we'd be happy to take them. And that's pretty much it. That flew by. 24 minutes end to end. Adam, I guess before we finish up, just a question for you, maybe that would help the guys. And again, if you guys have any questions, you can pop them in the chat button or come off mute, and happy to answer them. But for you, Adam, I guess when you joined Kefron, like, what are some of the things that you really, really liked about the role in particular, and then maybe some of the things that you still don't like day to day?
Yeah, so I think the things throughout my time in the role, the typical things you probably say is the wins are some of the best parts. So when you hit target or deals get signed that you generate and things like that, it's definitely one of the best parts of the role. I think also the environment that Kefron have in the London office, the people you're working with, just the nature of the role is also I enjoyed and looked forward to going into work each day and wanted to turn up and do well. And yeah, just the drive of the team. I think you want to work, you want to do well for each other, and then you all win together and you all benefit from that. So yeah, those are sort of the best parts. I think typically the worst parts you mentioned earlier is you do get a bit of rejection. And it probably came as a bit of a shock when I first started, people telling you to get lost. but then after you get used to that, it becomes quite fun, and it becomes quite an interesting part of the role. And yeah, you enjoy it as opposed to it getting to you or anything like that. So yeah, it's definitely a lot that I've enjoyed in the role.
Brilliant. What about doing the placement, Adam? Did you find that, like, I know when I was in university, again, I had the option to take a placement year, and I decided against it for whatever reason. Are you glad you did the placement year? Is that something you felt that was valuable as opposed to not and going straight into final year?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one of the huge benefits for me in doing the placement was sort of taking that year to figure out what I wanted to do with my career. So as I said, I was looking at doing auditing at the Big Four and things like that, and realised it wasn't for me. So I guess I took a bit of a risk and thought I'll try out sales, and it's ended up being really good for me. Obviously, I've decided I do want to go into that after uni. So being able to find what I want to do with my career was so useful, but also being able to use that year and what you've learned in that year and take that back to your final year at university and sort of apply those skills you've learned, the presentational skills, communication skills I learned in the role. And then when I came back and I could apply those in what I did, and yeah, I was able to get a much better understanding of businesses and finance and things like that through the role, even though it wasn't directly in a finance function. We work alongside plenty of different companies in their finance function. So yeah, that was also extremely useful.
Gotcha. Okay. So I think that's really, really good advice to anyone on the call. If you guys are, unsure, and I remember the anxiety that goes along with what am I supposed to do when I finish up my degree, like in terms of what to do next, I think it's just as important to figure out what you don't want to do, as well as what you do want to do. Right. So if you take a gap year or a placement year with us or with anyone else, and it turns out at the end of that year, you decide, you know what, sales is definitely not for me, and I don't want to get into that type of career. But maybe as part of that year, you find out, well, actually, software businesses have an operations team. They also have an implementation team. They also have a finance function. And you'll get exposure to those areas of the Kefron business, which will give you an indication of actually, maybe sales isn't for me, but maybe another function in the business is. So I think that's really, really good advice. It's just as important to figure out what you don't want to do at the end of your placement year as opposed to what you do want to do. So yeah, cool. I think, Adam, is there anything skills wise that you feel like you've picked up? You mentioned presentation skills, that type of thing. Anything else that you'd draw on for the guys?
Yeah, I mean, typically before going into the role, you don't really get too much experience speaking with, like we said, CFOs and finance directors at big companies. So getting thrown into that, I definitely developed presentational skills. And I guess, yeah, when you're presenting in front of people like that, obviously, naturally, you'll develop those skills a lot. Communication skills, communicating with people across the phone. And just, I think, yeah, I was sort of developing, as you say, in sales, sort of the gift of the gab, and you coming across well, and the way you present yourself on the phone, I think, were the main things. But I think just typically the skills you would learn in coming into a new role in business, like getting into good habits with the 9 to 5 and working hard and being commission target based, gives you a lot of drive. So yeah, those are sort of the main things, I'd say.
You struggled with the 9 to 5 early on, though, a little bit, I would.
Throw me in it.
I'm joking. He was up early. Guys, look, that's pretty much it. Hopefully it was, I said it would be short and sharp. Hopefully we didn't bore you to death. We tried to keep it as interesting and as real as possible. Hopefully you found that useful. If there's any questions, I'm more than happy to take them.
Can I just ask one? I don't know if I've admitted myself yet. I'm really interested when you said about the campaigns with the marketing team. I'm really interested, just like what kind of campaigns, like what do they look like? I've taken marketing modules last year and this year. This year I did digital marketing, and it really excited me, like making websites and stuff. So I'm just really curious to see what the campaigns kind of look like for you guys and what they do.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have just hired a new head of marketing. We should have interviewed you, but we've just hired a new head of marketing who has taken on the full website redesign. So if you go onto our website, it's really it's a little bit muddled. So there's loads of stuff that Kefron does. All we focus on is the accounts payable function and that solution. So we're trying to break away now as a business to make sure that when a client comes onto our website, they've got two options. They can go to the traditional Kefron business, and then they can go to the platform business that myself and Adam are involved in. In terms of campaigns, obviously, as Adam said, we focus predominantly on targeting C-level executives in the finance function. So finance directors, chief financial officers, financial controllers, who basically hold the keys to the budget, but also have the decision-making power in terms of the solution that we sell, because it's finance focused. So you'll find pretty quickly that some of the best opportunities come when a person has recently switched roles. So if a finance director has recently left company XYZ to go to a new company, usually in their first 3 to 6 months, they're looking at, how can I improve this business and make a name for myself in this business, because they want to try and introduce new technology. So we've got a really cool platform that will identify these people have moved job in the last 3 to 6 months. That'll come to the to Adam's team, the inside sales team, and then it's over to them to send them an email message, send them a LinkedIn message. Hey, congratulations on the new role. Most people moving into new roles start to look at this type of technology. Is it something that you're open to for a chat? The other thing that I would say we do a lot of work with lists. So, like the business case for investing in this type of solution. So every investment in any business has to go through an appraisal process, right? So it has to be financially viable for the business. So a finance director will go to the board and say, if we invest in this business, it will mean that we don't have to hire more people, or we can put the accountants onto this type of work. And that's the business case. The reason that I say that is because that's usually a really strong business case for hyper growth businesses. So fast growing businesses don't want to hire more people as they scale. They want to continue to scale and scale and scale without the need for potentially hiring more staff or temporary staff to do that type of work. So we do a lot of work on specific campaigns for, like, the Sunday Times generate a list every 6 months or so for the fastest growing UK businesses. And again, the message to those types of businesses is, hey, we know you're growing really, really fast. We saw you're on the fast track list. Congratulations. 5 of our customers are already on that list. They invested in our solution because they're growing really, really quickly, but they don't have time to hire more people and they don't want to. So, is that something that you're interested in? So there are 2 examples. Adam, I don't know if there's anything else that you'd pitch in with there, but there are 2 that I could think of at the top of my head.
Yeah. I think just in general, we go after specific target markets, and you work along marketing, thinking about what demographics to go after, and then coming up with messaging and content and things like that. And that's probably the typical general what we would work with marketing on. And yeah,
amazing. Thank you.
No worries. Good question. Thank you for that.
I wanted to ask if, when the guys are tailoring their cover letter, is there any specific or particular skills that you're really looking out for? How can they stand out? What do you want from them?
I think good question. I think anytime you're doing a recruitment process, cover letters and CVs always come in the same type of way, in the same type of format, and there's loads of advice on how to build a correct CV. I think the immediate thing that I do when I receive a cover letter or I get a CV is try and find that person on LinkedIn. And it's not anything to it's just really to put a face to the name, but also to try and see, has this person kept up their kind of social employee history as well as their their CV driven one. So I would recommend to anyone, whether it's with Kefron or anyone else, to get that LinkedIn profile up to date, because that's what every employer is going to go to, because it's just an easier format that they're probably used to. So I would recommend that you do that. And then the second thing I would say is try and stand out and be a little bit different. If you can record a little video and pop it in your CV or pop it in your cover letter, that's going to stand out from the 10 CVs that I get every day. If yours has a video and it's 30 seconds saying, hey, I'm Grace, I love marketing, I love campaigns, this is why I want to join Kefron, like that's going to stand out to me. So that's probably the bit of advice that I would give.
I was literally just about to ask, can I send in a video?
Yeah, there you go. I'm a mind reader. Yeah, so look, there's loads of little things that you can get online. There's a solution called Vidyard, so VIDYARD, which is, you know, you can download it for free onto your desktop, and then it converts it into a nice little link. You know, so I think anything like that, guys, to stand out is going to put you in better stead than most people in terms of submitting their CVs. Now, that's to us and to Kefron. You know, the standard way that everyone submits CVs is, for most businesses, they want it in a specific format. Just for us, that's what stands out to us. So, because it's going to stand out to a CFO, you know, if you go a different way of approaching him or her in that role, it stands out to them, and that's what we're all about. That's what we're looking for, you know. So it's being a little bit creative in your outreach or your attempt to get a CV read. Okay. I think we're good. Are we?
Any other questions from anyone? I think that's it, but I think you've covered everything, given a really good insight into the company, really interesting to kind of see who you work with as well, and an insight into kind of how you know, they can progress in the role. So yeah, I just want to say a big thank you for taking the time to do this. We really appreciate it, and I'm sure everyone else on the call has found it really interesting as well. But yeah, and just to clarify, it's CV and cover letter to you, and obviously, you know, finding a kind of creative way to stand out. Is that right?
Yeah, so you can email me directly. So it's James K at Kefron.com. So KEF. I always get abused for how I say RON. That's the accent. So James K at Kefron.com. Yeah, just fling that over to me. I'll have a quick look at it, and we'll always do our best to give you feedback on the CV, irrespective of if you're selected for an interview or not. So it's probably worth your while. Jessica's popped that in there. Yeah. So feel free to reach out to me, or if you have any questions that you didn't want to answer on the call, I'm more than happy to have a chat with anyone about any advice I can give you. So feel free to reach out.
Great. And yeah, just for students to know, we've got the job description. So if you want to email some careers or some placements at swansea.ec.uk, we can forward that on to you. But yeah, so I'll stop the recording. But again, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for giving us an insight.
My pleasure. Thanks a lot for your time. Let's have a great weekend when we get there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks.